One of the most impactful figures in recent Frum life was Rabbi Yisroel Twersky, Dr. Abraham J. Twersky. He wrote so many books, so prolific, and his speeches, one of the most important speeches he ever made wasn't in a large gathering, it wasn't at any convention, it wasn't for mental health professionals. It was at a family simcha, the bar mitzvah of one of his sons. Heard this from one of his close relatives, how he lived in Pittsburgh for many years, where he was director of a rehabilitation clinic. And to make a Shabbos bar mitzvah in Pittsburgh is a challenge, especially for Hasidic Yidden who are very careful with what they eat, and hechsherim, and the traditional foods of Shabbos. They had a big crowd for Shabbos, and his wife worked for months. She did all the catering herself. Of course, things had to be cooked a certain way, prepared a certain way, and they were ready. The grace of Shabbos, the bar mitzvah, and all the guests came for Shabbos and arranging accommodations for everybody. And then the davening, and then they sat down to the Suda Friday night. Kiddush, Hamaitzi, and spirits are very high. Families together, spread out all across the country. They finally came together. Right before it's time to serve the fish, his Rebbitzin calls him outside. She had prepared fish for Shabbos herself, and she had left it on the table in the house and asked him to bring it to the shul where they were eating. And he forgot to do it. He didn't do it. The fish was still at home, and there was no Eruv in Pittsburgh. So there's really no solution. We have no fish. What are we going to do? So if you're hearing this and your mind starts racing, it's your fault. You should have told me. I didn't tell me. You should have reminded me. Just the stuff that here's what Rabbi Twersky did. He gets up to speak, looks at the bar mitzvah boy, and he says, let's say 20, 25 years in Mitzvah Hashem, we'll be sitting in another bar mitzvah of this Yingala, this bar mitzvah boy, his son in Mitzvah Hashem, another generation. He says, then, invariably, somebody's going to say, I remember the father's bar mitzvah. Do you remember how they forgot the fish? And everyone's going to laugh, and I'll say, oh, that was so funny, they didn't have the fish. That's so you're a type who forgets fish at a bar mitzvah, and they'll be teasing, and there'll be some nostalgic, good-natured laughter, and everyone's just going to remember it fondly. So Rabbi Twersky stops and says, if we're going to laugh then, let's just laugh about it now. And they moved on with the Suda, and that's how he acknowledged his mistake, and everybody in good spirits continued the Suda. Think about this story. The pasuk says in Tehillim, Kapitel Amazayin, Ve'oid ma'at ve'ein rasha. Soon there'll be no more Rasha. V'spainanta al makayma, you will contemplate his place, ve'inenu, he's not there. So the Heilige Vision that teaches like this. He says when a person is inflamed by taiva, by desire to do something that they shouldn't do, it feels like it's going to overpower a person. They're burning. The passion is very high. After they do the Aveira, and anybody who's ever done an Aveira in their life, myself included, knows that it's not very fulfilling. It doesn't really bring a lot of joy. It looked a lot better than it was. You expected it to be a lot better than it turned out being. So he says, if a person, right before they do the Aveira, could just train themselves to think and say, stop. In 3 minutes, am I still going to be so happy that I did this? I'm throwing away a lot. I'm giving up a lot. Am I going to be gratified with that decision I made or not? In a little bit, ve'ein rasha. This part of you, the wickedness that's motivating you now, it's not going to be here anymore. The spenanta al makayma, you're going to look back at the place, at the taiva that you feel now. Ve'inenu, it's not going to be there. You'll say, how did I ever end up here? What drove me to do that? What seemed so enticing that I was ready to do that for this? I don't feel good. So think about that now. It's the chiddush of the Rishna, but it's what Rabbi Twersky said. One day we're going to laugh about it. So laugh about it now.